Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Layla, and in today's video I have another subscriber financial review. Alright, y'all know the drill. A few things before we get into the email. The first thing, if you are interested in me making a video for your financial situation, just like this one, it will be anonymous. I do have my email down in the description box. I also have a list of things that would be helpful for you to include in your email so that I can give you the best feedback and advice. There's actually one person who they submitted their stuff, but I did not receive enough information, so I reached out to you, I emailed you, and I haven't heard anything back. So if you emailed me over a month ago, maybe in the last month or so, and you have not seen a video for yourself, then you probably missed my email. So if that's you, then feel free to get back to me and I can make your video. Number two, if you are interested in taking things further, I do also offer one-on-one sessions so we can go over your finances personally one-on-one. I can make you a custom plan. We can break down your budget, go through your savings goals, all those things, and I also have that link in my description box. And then number three, final thing is please be nice in the comments. So far there has been no problem, so thank you so much to everybody who has been friendly and helpful in the comments for these videos. But please keep in mind that the person that I am referring to in this video is a real human being and they watch my videos, they will see those comments, so please be friendly and keep them helpful. Okay, so let's get into it. I said in my last video that somebody told me I was too talkative as I was reading through the email, but I prefer that. So I tried last week to just read through the full email and then come back to everything that I had talked about, but I think it flows better if I'm reading and then giving my response or thoughts as I'm reading, just because otherwise I'm gonna forget things or it's gonna take me longer to read it, go back, you know? Okay, so I apologize if you think I'm talking too much. In my mind, it just works better that way and I feel like I can give a better response. As always, this will be completely anonymous, but thank you so much to the person who shared all of this information. She said, I am newly self-employed as of June 2023. I am a 29-year-old psychotherapist living in Boston, Massachusetts with $168,000 in student loan debt. No kids. I initially had $180,000, but paid it down a little bit. I recently quit my job in a group practice to start my own practice and reach the income potential for my field. I was on track to have my loans forgiven with PSLF when I was working for a community mental health center, but I abandoned that idea because I was miserable and the earning potential was low. I couldn't stay in an environment that was so toxic and so low paying just for the possibility of loan forgiveness. I respect that. I think that's a great decision for you to make. Like if you felt you were in a toxic place and also if they were underpaying you, I would say it is not worth staying. Like you're gonna end up burnt out or just, cause some mental health issues that nobody wants. So I respect that decision to take things on your own. Also, y'all will see that she is doing quite well, so it sounds like it was a good decision for her. I have two chunks of student loans, one with PenFed Credit Union and another with Mohila. The Mohila loans are federal. My private student loans used to be Discover, but the interest rate was at a criminal 11%. It took me years to refinance it because my debt to income ratio was so high and my cosigner passed away. I'm so sorry about that. I'm not sure who the cosigner was, but that sounds like it was not expected. I got rejection after rejection before I finally raised my income in 2022 after leaving community mental health. And now with PenFed, my interest rate is 3.29%. That's an amazing switch from 11% down to 3.29. I now make great money working for myself, averaging so far between $6,400 to $7,500 after taxes and business expenses. Summer is slower for my field, so there's the possibility my income could increase in the fall. That's amazing. Her income is pretty good. $6,400 to $7,500 after taxes and business expenses. Like that's her take home. That's very strong. And also she just said she has the potential to increase this coming up. And yeah, I think you're going to be in a really great place as far as your income goes. So that is ideal considering how much debt you have. So overall, it sounds like she made a great decision leaving that other job and going on her own. I also have a second job working for a group home. This is where my situation is unique. I don't have to pay rent, it's comped as part of my job contract. Basically, I'm on call for the group home in exchange for rent. It was a miracle type situation that I found after grad school that kept me from moving back in with my parents. In addition, I pick up an additional relief shift one time per month and take home $710. However, I've lived here in the group for 5 years and I am outgrowing it. It's a taxing position and does sometimes interfere with my personal life. That is really cool. Definitely a unique situation. I personally have never heard of that, but also I also have never experienced a psychotherapist or what that involves as a career. So that is amazing. I'm sure that's saving you so much on housing expenses and definitely sounds like a great place to be at. She's been there for some time and I could see why that would interfere with personal life because she's on call. So yeah, let's keep going. I am planning to make a move across the country to San Diego in early 2024, February through April timeframe, which I have started to save for. I am emotionally in between wanting to live life on my terms and leave the group home and pay off debt. It's my dream to move across the country and it would take me a lot to change my mind. This has been my goal for a while, but now is the first time in my adult life where I felt it's possible. But my debt is still a huge consideration for me. When I do move, I plan to keep my living expenses around $1,500, $12,000 including all utilities. I own my car. It's a 2013 Honda Civic and I paid it off in 2020. Congrats. I don't have any credit card debt. I do have several credit cards, but I pay them off every month. I have $32,000 saved in a high yield savings account that's with Citizens Access at 4.5% APY. I would define it as my emergency fund / general savings. I have a little over $10K in an old employer sponsored 401k. I am looking into rolling it over into an IRA or solo 401k. I am not currently saving for retirement because I just became self-employed. Now, she does ask a series of questions, which I am going to go through those and answer them for her the best way I can. But before we get to those questions, I'm going to show y'all some of her numbers. So she put my information is below, and she put all of her student loan debt, the balances, the interest rate, and the minimum payment. You'll see that the interest rate is typed out in decimal format instead of the actual percentage. I will put this in my spreadsheet so you'll see it better, but just move the decimal to the right 2 places and that would be the percentage it is. She does say the interest rates and minimum payments for the Mohila loans are reflecting when they will be due in October. Right now they are at 0% interest and I am not paying anything, and that's because of the forbearance. Next, I'm going to pop up the income that she shared. I think the name is in this, so I'm going to cross that out, the place, her business, I think is in this. From my understanding, she is being conservative with these numbers because 6,400 was on the lower end of the range that she shared before, and then the 710 was that extra shift that she picks up, or the one shift she picks up. So this is definitely being conservative, which is great because $7,110 is a great amount to work with. She also said before that this was after taxes and after business expenses. So definitely a great income there. She then shared her fixed expenses, which I'll put up on the screen. She said, I pay car insurance every 6 months and it is $455.54, average of $75.92 per month. That's actually really great. That's a very affordable car insurance premium. I wonder if that's just a lower, I would think Boston is more expensive, but awesome. I do not have to pay for rent, parking, Wi-Fi, water, electric, heat. This is all part of my job contract. So there's a few fixed expenses here, nothing too crazy, a few subscriptions. And then she also listed out her variable expenses, which we're going to talk about, but I will pop those up on the screen and let me read through what she said about these. This is my budget on average. It doesn't always pan out this way, but I'm trying, especially since I started tracking again. I know my groceries are high. I have gut health issues, same, and buy a lot of organic / specialty items. I also live in Boston, which is a very high cost of living city. I go out with friends for dinner and drinks once per week, which is why I try to set a realistic budget for dining out, drink / alcohol, entertainment, and Ubers. I work from home, so I fill up my gas one time per month at most. I change my travel budget month to month depending on my travel plans. This month it's lower, but next month I'm going to Barcelona for 1 week. Plane and Airbnb is paid. I will just budget for expenses while there. I rarely shop, but budget for it just in case I need something. I'm often under budget for medical, health, and wellness. I buy a decent amount of supplements to help with anxiety and gut issues, but this varies month to month depending on what I need. I rarely spend anything in the household category. I'm usually able to get my toilet paper, paper towels, dish soap, etc. from the group home. My self-care budget changes based on what I have coming up that month. I get my nails done monthly, about $60, and I do get my hair done every 3 months, which is about $225, and Botox every 3 to 4 months, which is about $300. Maybe I could cut back here, but my self-care is an important part of feeling good about myself. If I had to choose one thing to cut out in this category though, it would probably be my nails. So we'll talk about all that in just a moment because I have a few things to just mention there. But then she put her savings contributions. These are her monthly savings. High yield savings, she does $1,700 per month. Retirement is question mark, so right now she's not contributing to any retirement. And then her move to California, she's saving $600 per month. Now she did ask a few specific questions, so I'm going to answer those. And then I am going to share some just opinions that I'm thinking as I look through all of these numbers. So her first question, when paying down debt, should I initially focus on my private or federal student loans? My private have a lower interest rate, but a higher minimum payment. Also, there's no chance they are ever going away, of course. The federal ones have varying interest rates that are higher than my private, but there's more benefits of carrying the loan than private, i.e. small chance for forgiveness, relief programs, etc. Correct, and I do agree. So I typically, if you just ask me like to give one response to that, I would say focus on your private loans over your federal because of what she said. So if something happens, if she were to get sick all of a sudden and she couldn't work, or if something like COVID, we saw everything that happened with COVID-19, all of us with federal student loans, we didn't have to make payments. And there was the possibility of cancellation, which potentially could still happen. I highly doubt that, but there's just a lot more benefits with that. There's also the option to defer payments if necessary. So if she, again, got sick or anything like that, or was not able to work, or if any of y'all were in that situation and you have federal student loans, you have the option to defer. With a private student loan, you typically are not able to do that. You have to make your payments. However, for her situation, I'm gonna say it's gonna be a mixture. And this is because I was just looking at all of your student loans broken down, because this is really helpful. I think you should prioritize your private student loan debt, but first, and this would be after the forbearance ends, so in August or in September basically is when I suggest you do this. Take your savings. She said she has 32,000, was it? Yeah, so she has 32,000 saved in her high yield savings account as an emergency fund / general savings. And I would say to completely pay off Mohila student loan number 1. And that's about $8,300. That one has the highest interest rate, which is 6.8%. Obviously the minimum payment isn't anything crazy, especially compared to the private student loan and even some of the other Mohila student loans. But the more important thing is the interest rate here. This specific student loan, federal student loan, would cost you more in interest than you are making in your savings. So I would say come September, pay off Mohila student loan number 1 completely, and that knocks off the highest interest. Obviously she has another student loan that is 6%, but I'm gonna say to put that after the private student loan. So I will share the order of things in just a moment, but number 1 would be gone by September. Her second question, should I be saving for retirement during this time? Does it even make sense? Absolutely. Yes, you should. Does it make sense? Yes. When it comes to investing for your situation as a self-employed person, I'm not sure how you're handling your business. I'm gonna assume since you're making that much money and you have like a professional service that you're probably an LLC. And if so, you are probably treating yourself as an employee, but you're also the employer. So maybe you're filing your taxes as an S Corp. I've heard about S Corps before, but I recently attended, this past week, I attended a FinCon event, like a financial conference for women, and they were talking about S Corps and the benefits of these. So I don't know if you file your taxes as an S Corp, but it's definitely something to look into. So your business, I don't know if you already do this, but you should treat yourself as an employee. So you are the employer, but you're also the employee. And with this, you can invest in special types of investments. So you could either do a solo 401k or a simple IRA. SEP IRA, I'm not too sure. I'm more familiar with the usual retirement accounts, so Roth IRA and traditional 401k, that sort of thing. So I highly encourage you to do your research on one, not only S Corps, I can actually link some resources down below, but also a solo 401k versus simple IRA versus SEP IRA. Because I know that if you treat yourself as an employee, but you're also the employer, you can contribute to those retirement accounts, and the limits are much higher versus like a Roth IRA, but you can also match your contributions up to a certain amount, and that is amazing because it's your money either way, you know? So yes, to answer your question again, absolutely you should be investing, especially for that situation, because that is pretty unique. You do have a little bit of homework to do some research on those retirement accounts as well as the S Corp. And in just a moment, I will talk about how much I think you should be investing per month. Question number 3, I'm also considering using my high yield savings account to make a big student loan payment at the end of the year, but this would only make sense if I use it for my loans that are, I think she meant above a 4.5% interest rate. If I don't choose to do this, I was considering put it towards retirement or sinking funds. What are your thoughts? So yeah, I did kind of address this already, but I think you should use some of your savings for sure and pay that whole student loan number 1 and knock out $8,300 of debt, and that's your highest interest debt as well. I'm going to talk more about her savings when I get to my spreadsheet, so I'll hold on that. But her final question, which path of paying off debt / retirement savings puts me on the best chance of financial success? Now, again, I'm going to talk about that, but her situation is kind of similar to the recent one where it was like you have option, like you are not behind. She's 29 years old and you may feel like you're behind, but your income is great. You have a lot of potential, a lot of earning potential there. So honestly, there is no perfect answer. You could focus just on your debt and not put anything to investments, which I'm not going to suggest, but you could do that and you would still probably be fine financially. I guess what I'm saying with that is it's never black and white. You know, there's always in betweens, and like no matter what, as long as you're making progress on your finances and you are aware of these things, then you will be fine. So let's go ahead and look at my spreadsheet. I think I'm going to start with the debt avalanche / snowball tracker that I have. This is on my Etsy shop, available for purchase, by the way, if you are interested. But up here, I'm filming this in August, so August 2023 is when we're starting this. The current month is August, that's already populated. But I did go ahead and fill in all of the debts that she shared with me. Keep in mind, this is not accurate because she does not have to pay her Mohila student loan debt in August, and she probably doesn't have to pay it in September either. However, so it's just 1 month. It's 1 month off. But for the purposes of this video, I wanted to go ahead and put all of her debts in here so that everything was accounted for. Like I said, I want her to pay off Mohila student loan number 1 in September. So pay off that I'm sorry, I've said this so many times, but pay off that $8,300 using your high yield savings account savings. And as you can see, I removed that from her list. So there's no student loan number 1 here. And if you do that, this is the order I think you should go through. So this is first going to be prioritizing your private student loan debt with PenFed. So yes, it does have the lowest interest rate actually, but because it is private student loan debt, I suggest putting it first. After that, it would go using the debt avalanche. So focusing on the highest interest debt down to the lowest. If you decided not to put anything extra to your debt, aside from paying off number 1, and you just paid the minimums, that's going to take you more than 15 years. I don't even know how long it would take you because my tracker only does up to 15 years. And yeah, so it would take you much longer than 15 years because as you can see, you still would have $103,000 of student loan debt, even if you paid this down for 15 years. So between the interest and just time and these minimum payments, it's not going to do it. I do not suggest you don't put anything extra to your student loans. You definitely want to put something extra. Do not get discouraged though. It gets better and you definitely have a lot of room for paying this down much quicker and still investing and still saving. So let's talk about that. We will come back to this, but first I want to talk about her spending. I did go ahead and put all of the expenses in her budget that she shared with me in her email. You're not going to be able to see it all on one screen because it's quite a bit, so I apologize for that. But this is everything listed here, including her PenFed loan, the minimum payment, as well as the minimum payments on all of those student loan debts, except for student loan debt number 1. So she told me her income was a little over $7,000. Again, this is being conservative, so that is great. That is perfect. That's exactly how you want to go about making your budget. All of these look fine to me. One note about Spotify, I think the price is increasing next month to $10.99, but that's just $1 difference. Anyways, all of these look fine. Car insurance I did include in there as well, even though she pays every 6 months. Groceries, I think $500 for groceries, especially in Boston, Massachusetts, is fine. Y'all know that I budget $400 and I usually go over. I also purchase primarily organic, and it tends to be much more expensive if you go that route. So that's fine with me. The problem comes in these yellow ones that I have highlighted clearly. So dining out, drinks and alcohol, and entertainment. I think you will need to I think you should make some cuts here. You don't need to. You can afford this. This is, if you're technically budgeting for this, so you may be overspending in these categories as well. But if this is your budget and you try to stick to this, I think that's pretty reasonable. You can afford this. I would definitely try not to go above it. But I would, if I was working with you, I would definitely ask, if these things are something that makes you happy. It sounds like you go out every week with your friends, which is great. That's perfectly fine. I also understand that you probably work a lot, and it sounds like somewhat high stress, so it makes sense for you to just want to go out on the weekends and enjoy yourself. That's perfectly fine. However, you're aware of it because you emailed me. You have $168,000 of debt. And that's just student loan debt, It's not a house. So I would say, does this make you happy? Does dining out, does drinking alcohol and paying for entertainment and stuff truly add value to your life? Or are these things that you're doing with your friends because they have a different lifestyle? And that could mean that they don't have any debt, so they don't need to worry about their finances. So they're like, oh yeah, let's go out to eat, let's get some drinks, etc. It could also be that they also have a heavy amount of debt and they don't care. They're not focused on their money. And with that, let me say, they could also be hiding it. So it may seem like they're fine. This is going down a whole thing, But what I've noticed amongst my peers and just American society in general is that people who spend more money usually have less money, or they're not prioritizing their finances. And for me, I try not to be around those people. So these may be your great friends, and that's perfectly fine. So please do not take offense to this. I'm not judging in any way. I'm just making sure, I would want to get down to, is this the friend group that you want to be around, or are they influencing you to go out and spend money on things that maybe you wouldn't do if they weren't there, So I don't have too many friends for a few reasons, but the few friends that I do have, they like to do simple things, which I really, really appreciate. And that's part of the reason why they are my friends and continue to be my friends. So they like to just grab a coffee and sit at a coffee shop to chat, or grab a coffee and go for a walk, or just go for a walk. Sometimes we'll go out and do things like fun things that we could do together. But I've always hated when things have come up where it's like, oh yeah, we got reservations at this whatever really expensive restaurant, and it's gonna be $50 per person. I don't like that. So yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to go too far down a rabbit hole with that one, but I would say just think about that, consider that, and that's completely fine. If you enjoy doing those things and you don't feel pressured, by all means, keep those in your budget. But we will talk about lowering that a little bit. Everything else seemed fine to me. Even your self-care, you said was $250. I think that's fine. You can afford it. So I did go ahead and create a budget over here for what I think things would look like once you make the move over to San Diego. I think you absolutely can make that move early next year if that's what you want to do. I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure the 32,000 that you have also encompasses what you have saved for California, but I would continue saving until then. So yeah, let's look at what we changed. Everything you're seeing here is the same except for the yellow sections. So dining out, I combined with the drink/alcohol. So dining out and alcohol, I think instead of being, how much is this? Like $500 between the two, I would suggest lowering that to 300 max, potentially even lower if you are open to it. I know it's probably much more expensive in Boston, but I would combine those and try to go a little bit lower in budget there. Same with entertainment. Instead of 250, I just knocked it down to 200. Like you said, you want to be realistic with your budget, so if this is unrealistic, then by all means keep it as it was. Again, everything else here is the same. Of course, these things would probably change month to month, but that's how a budget works. You know, you should be budgeting every month and tracking your spending that way. But for this video, I'm just saying a general assumption of your spending. So again, this budget is basically what I would imagine things would look like when you're in San Diego. So I did change the savings that you were putting. So high yield savings, you were putting $1,700 per month. And I would ask you why you're doing that, like what you're saving for specifically. And I would lower that personally. It sounds like you weren't sure what to do with your money. So instead of saving for retirement, or instead of investing, you were saving. So I would cut that back a little bit, maybe just $750. That could be between your emergency fund as well as sinking funds. I didn't include anything extra in here, but I would definitely lower that and focus more on your debt and retirement. So I popped rent and utilities in here as well with a question mark because I wasn't sure what that would cost you in San Diego. I did do some research and was looking into whether it costs more to live in Boston versus San Diego, and it actually looks like it's more expensive in Boston, which was surprising to me. So I'm gonna delete these two for now, but let me show you, with all of those numbers typed in, you can see you have almost $1,900 remaining from, if we subtract your expenses from your income. And I would say that this is probably going to be closer to 2,000, potentially more, because you were being conservative with your income. So let me pop these back in. I think you should do an even mix between paying off your debt and investing. So that's going to look like at least 1,000 to each per month. So you're going to have your minimums on both of your student loan debts, but you're going to put an additional 1,000 to the private loan first, and then until that's paid off, and then you will focus from highest interest down to lowest. I think it would also be great to contribute at least $1,000 to your retirement. Now, which platform? It depends. The research that you do, simple IRA, solo 401k, you could potentially give yourself a match, and that way you're able to invest even more, but you definitely should be investing during this journey. Now, the reason I said an extra 1,000 to your student loans is because that's kind of the sweet spot. So I plugged that into this debt tracker. So I did 1,000 for, I'm just gonna drag this down for a while. So if you were to do the 1,000 extra to your student loans per month, you would be completely debt-free or student loan debt-free in less than 9 years, about 9 years. And honestly, I think that's perfect, like a nice sweet spot, because it's great to have a goal to be debt-free by the age of 40. You are 29, so in 9 years you'll be 38. But that's right before 40. I think it's a great goal to be able to achieve that, being completely debt-free by the age of 40. You do have a lot more student loan debt than many people do, so it's going to take you longer. You could mess with these numbers and see that, yes, of course, if you put an extra $1,500 per month, then you're going to be able to pay it off much faster. But I think it's a good idea for your situation to just do the 1,000. Of course, I also came to my favorite investment calculator website to plug in what things would look like if you invested 1,000 every month for 9 years, so the amount that it took you to pay off your debt. And you said you had about 10,000 in an existing 401k. The return rate is kept at 7%. If you do 1,000 per month, you would have about $168,000 after 9 years. I would argue that this is probably going to be a little bit higher, especially if you can give yourself a match as the employee. Yeah, either way, you'll definitely end up with a pretty decent net worth. And just so we can see some numbers, let's look at what $2,000 extra to your debt would look like, and what would, like, let's say you're just focused on your debt and not putting anything to retirement. The reason I don't think you should do that is just because I think it is so much better to do a mix of both. It's also going to take you longer to be debt-free because you have a higher amount of debt. You also can give yourself a match with your unique situation. So yeah. So yeah, if you do $2,000 extra to your student loan debt every month, you'll be debt-free in about 5 years. And then you would have, like, we'll keep this at $10,000 after, it took you 5 years to be debt-free. So then if we wanted to end up at the age of 38, that would be an additional 4 years. And let's say then you started doing $2,000 per month, you would be worse off, actually. You would not have as much money. So yeah, I would say to do a split. I think 1,000 and 1,000 is good. We could literally spend all day looking at all of the options, but it does not need to be complicated. Like, just pick a number, that's why I say 1,000 and 1,000. If you're able to do extra, then great. Pick one that you want to put extra to. I would say maybe put it to your student loan debt just because the interest rates are somewhat high. And then maybe once you get to the lower ones, you can start focusing more on investing. But an even split here is looking like a good option. And yeah, kind of just to wrap everything up, I know that none of this is, like I say with all of these videos, nothing is 100% accurate in these spreadsheets. These are mostly assumptions that I'm making. And this second budget that I created is based off of when you move to San Diego. So I know for some time, like for the next few months, for the next half year or so, you will still be in Boston and still just be saving for that move. So in the meantime, yes, I do think you should do the same thing. So start putting more to your student loan debt as well as investing. You do want to start contributing to some retirement. Overall, it sounds like you are doing great for yourself. I'm so happy for you that your business is successful, especially going self-employed. That is incredible. And I'm sure that you can continue to grow that, and you'll just, all of these numbers will shrink, you know, instead of it taking 9 years, it'll be 7 years, and all that time you're going to be investing as well. And then by the end of it, you'll be at, like, you know, 150K plus in your investments, and then you can start investing heavily from there. I'm also really glad that you don't have any other debt outside of your student loan, so definitely keep that up. And yeah, hopefully you found this helpful. To those of y'all watching, please feel free to comment your thoughts. What do you think she should do? If there's anything that I suggested that you're like, no, I think she should do this, please feel free to share. And just another reminder to please be nice. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. It really supports my channel, and I'll see you in my next video.